In a world full of noise, drama, and emotional landmines, the modern Stoic stands firm. The Stoics didn't just teach how to think, they taught how to live. And nothing tests our philosophy more than dealing with toxic people. Those who drain your energy, manipulate your peace, and invite chaos into your life. But here's the twist. Stoicism doesn't ask you to fix others. It teaches you to fix your response. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, once said, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." That wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. The Stoic doesn't get offended by the existence of toxic people. He expects them. He trains for them. So in this video, you won't get tricks to outsmart manipulators or scripts to dominate conversations. What you'll get is power, the kind of internal power that makes you untouchable. Because when you master your mind, no toxic person can control your day. This is not about controlling the world. It's about controlling your inner world. Stoics don't label people to judge them. They observe behavior to understand patterns. Toxicity often disguises itself in charm, fake empathy, or passive aggression. But the Stoic trains himself to see beneath the mask, not with bitterness, but with clarity. To recognize manipulation without becoming cynical. To acknowledge malice without losing compassion. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most of the pain caused by toxic people doesn't come from what they do, but from how we dwell on it. Replaying insults, overanalyzing gestures. Stoicism reminds us, suffering is optional when interpretation is under our control. To the Stoic, the goal is not to become better than toxic people. The goal is to become better despite them. You don't need to win the argument or expose their flaws. Your peace is not a trophy to be defended. It's a state to be protected. And that protection begins with awareness, not emotional reaction. A Stoic sets boundaries not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You don't have to yell to be heard or fight to be respected. Your boundaries are a reflection of your values, not your vengeance. When you know what you stand for, you naturally create space between yourself and what threatens it. Epictetus taught that we must differentiate between what is in our control and what is not. Other people's actions? Out of your control. Your response, your space, your energy? Completely within it. You don't owe access to people who disrespect your peace. And you don't need to explain why your silence is louder than your words. Real strength isn't in confrontation. It's in restraint. Walking away is not weakness. It's wisdom. The Stoic doesn't slam doors. He quietly closes them and builds a better room. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out. They're bridges that lead you back to yourself. The modern Stoic turns pain into perspective. He doesn't run from insults. He transforms them. When someone criticizes you unfairly, it's not an attack. It's a chance to ask, is there truth in this? And if not, why should I be disturbed by a lie? This is emotional alchemy, turning emotional poison into psychological clarity. When Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by betrayal and political manipulation, he didn't rant or seek revenge. He wrote, he reflected, he practiced turning outer chaos into inner peace. And this is the key. You don't control what they say, but you do control what you make it mean. Toxic people thrive when you react. They feed off attention, drama, and confusion. But when your response is silence, clarity, or even a smile, you rob them of their power. Stoicism doesn't teach suppression. It teaches transformation. Your emotion is fuel. Use it wisely. Dealing with toxic people the Stoic way isn't about confrontation. It's about liberation. You're not trying to defeat them. You're trying to free yourself. Your goal is not to change others, but to change how much of your mind they occupy. And that is the ultimate victory. The Stoic doesn't avoid hard people because he's weak. He walks away because he's strong enough not to need the fight. He knows that inner stillness is worth more than outer validation. Toxic people want attention. The Stoic offers indifference, not coldness, clarity. So the next time you encounter someone trying to pull you into their storm, remember, you're not obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. The calmest person always holds the most power. Be that person. Be the modern Stoic. Many confuse Stoic detachment with emotional coldness. But real Stoic detachment is not about feeling nothing. It is about not being controlled by what you feel. Detachment is the art of staying centered while everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. It's choosing response over reaction, clarity over chaos. When you detach, you're not ignoring people, you're refusing to let their storm become your climate. Toxic people thrive on emotional entanglement. They want you to care just enough to be pulled into their drama. But the Stoic stays present without becoming entangled, aware without being consumed. Think of it like standing in the eye of a hurricane. Everything is spinning around you, but at your core you are calm, clear, and steady. That's not emotional numbness, it's emotional mastery. The modern Stoic doesn't shut down, he rises above. Here's a paradox. You can set firm boundaries and still feel compassion. Stoicism doesn't teach you to hate toxic people. It teaches you to see them as flawed human beings, just like you. Seneca reminded us, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness, even if that kindness is expressed in silence and distance. Often, the most toxic people are the ones who are suffering the most, though they may never admit it. They lie, manipulate, or lash out, not because they're powerful, but because they're afraid, insecure, or broken. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does help you release unnecessary anger. Compassion doesn't mean tolerance of abuse. It means refusing to mirror someone else's poison. It means leaving the room, not with rage, but with grace. The Stoic knows that hate binds you to your enemy. Compassion, when guided by wisdom, sets you free. Philosophy without practice is just theory. To deal with toxic people like a true Stoic, you must train your mind daily, just like a warrior trains for battle. One powerful tool is premeditatio malorum, the practice of mentally preparing for things to go wrong. Before your day begins, imagine facing conflict, criticism, or deceit, and visualize yourself staying calm. Another is evening reflection. Ask yourself each night, where did I lose control today? When did I let someone else's behavior decide my mood? This isn't to judge yourself, it's to sharpen your awareness. The Stoic journal is your mirror and your training ground. And finally, practice deliberate stillness. Take time in your day, even just 5 minutes, to sit in silence. Not scrolling, not reacting, just breathing, thinking, observing. In that space, you reclaim the power that toxic people are always trying to steal. Your attention. The greatest danger in dealing with toxic people is becoming like them. When your ego gets bruised, it screams for revenge. It wants to win the argument, prove the other person wrong, or come out on top. But the Stoic doesn't fight ego with ego. He dissolves it with awareness. Epictetus warned that arrogance and pride blind us to learning. The moment you think you're better than someone, you've already lost the Stoic path. Real power doesn't need to prove anything. When you react from ego, you fall into the trap set by toxic minds because they thrive on drawing you into their game. Don't become the monster you're trying to defeat. Don't let your peace be traded for the illusion of superiority. The Stoic doesn't rise by stepping on others. He rises by stepping away. Winning isn't looking victorious. It's staying virtuous. It's not always just individuals who are toxic. Sometimes it's the culture, the office that rewards manipulation, the friend group that mocks vulnerability, the digital world that feeds outrage. The Stoic sees that some systems are built to erode integrity, and yet he still chooses virtue over conformity. Marcus Aurelius ruled a corrupt empire, yet he wrote daily reminders to stay honest, calm, and just. The modern Stoic must do the same in a world addicted to attention, anger, and ego. In a toxic culture, refusing to play the game is an act of rebellion, and choosing to be grounded is a radical choice. You don't have to leave society, but you must refuse to be shaped by it. Let your principles be your compass, not your surroundings. When you choose to live with virtue in a world that praises vice, you don't just protect your peace, you become a living challenge to the chaos around you. At the heart of Stoicism is the concept of the inner citadel, your internal fortress. No matter how stormy life gets, no one can touch this sacred place unless you open the gates. Toxic people, chaotic cultures, painful events, they all lose their power the moment you choose not to let them in. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as a way to build and reinforce that citadel every day. He reminded himself that while emperors may rule the world, true power is ruling the self. You don't need outer control to feel peace. You need inner clarity. The modern Stoic walks through a noisy, judgmental world with quiet strength. Not because he's blind to the darkness, but because he carries his own light. And when you reclaim your inner citadel, you no longer react to life. You respond with purpose. In the end, Stoicism isn't about being untouchable. It's about being unshakable. It's about walking through fire and choosing not to burn. It's about living in a world that often loses its mind, without ever losing your own. That's your legacy. Not how loudly you fought back, but how deeply you remained anchored. Toxic people will come and go. Drama will knock at your door, dressed in different faces. But the Stoic doesn't wait for the world to get better. He becomes better. He doesn't demand peace from others. He creates it within. That is what sets him apart. Not power, not perfection, but presence. So the next time you find yourself in the presence of chaos, pause, breathe, remember who you are. Remember that no one can steal your peace unless you hand it over. You are the gatekeeper of your soul, the guardian of your mind, and the heir to a philosophy that has outlived empires. Let it live in you now, not as an idea but as a way of life.